Hello, this is David Morgan of themorganreport.com, and we're doing our backstage interview from the Metals Investors Forum. And thank you for inviting me, and especially thanks to do a silver focused segment. So we have got Impact Silver. Fred Davidson, if you listen to the main event, you have quite a bit of knowledge, but this is kind of a little less formal back and forth. So, Fred, I think one of the first things that I like to point out is what we look at for what we put in the Morgan report. We're always looking for low risk, high potential. And the way you do that, especially with a junior, is you have exploration targets and you also have the ability to increase production. I know Impact Silver has a lot of potential to increase production. So why don't we start there?
No problem at all. As you know, with we have two mills, and one of them, the Sequelpan mill, is we cut the production back in response to the collapse in silver prices back when, and focused mainly on the higher margin areas. And part of that was also expanding into what's called the Guadalupe mine. And Guadalupe mine has produced probably about, well, Peñoles alone produced over 10 million ounces from it. We produced about a million. But what was restricting it is the zones continued up to a boundary, and nobody owned the boundary that we could work with. We've acquired that boundary and property beyond it, and we're now going into those zones, and they're going to be a major contributor to the throughput. It's fairly low cost mining. The haul distances are ridiculously short. The adit is only 100 meters away from the mill. So it's one of those that we're going to be ramping up over the next 6 months. And that is because you have to do the development, obviously, before you can access the actual production stopes. So we're going to be taking the 435 tons a day we're doing right now back up to the sort of 535 tons. And then we're probably going to be adding to the mill a bit, not a heavy CapEx, but just a little bit of time to get us up to over 600. So that's the immediate future for production. And it's one of the sort of mainstays of what we do. We've been producing there now for 11 years and actually 15 years, and we produced 11 million ounces of silver. There's still a lot more in the area. So it's going to be sort of our solid, this is your cash register, and it just keeps on bringing in money as you develop.
I did the math right in my head, maybe not. Are we looking around numbers, around 20% increase in flow through the mill?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
That mill can't really be expanded readily much more, but it's going to be about a 20% increase over the next while. And that's going to complement one of the other projects we've got, Capiri.
We'll get there in a minute. I'd just like to stay here for a moment.
Sure.
As we pointed out in the main session, if you're marginal, then once the price of silver, we'll say, which would be true here, gets above a certain level, your leverage is better. So that's number one. So my thought process is this: you're going to increase the flow rate by about 20%. And let's say that the silver price goes up another 30%, which is what I've kind of forecast for this year anyway. Well, you kind of get double leverage out of that because you're seeing an increase in the price coming right to the bottom line because you cross the hurdle, so to speak, on what your all-in sustaining costs are. And at the same time, you're increasing production. So I just want to point that out to the audience because, they're looking to me and you for, our thoughts in the sector. And I think that's one I didn't want to overlook. So Capiri, I'm not saying it right. Will you pronounce it correctly and tell us about it, please? Capiri, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Capiri is a project we actually started quite a while ago, and it's where we're mining up at the Guadalupe are basically epithermal veins, and they tend to be high grade. They pinch and swell. They go down about 250 meters. Then beyond that silver lead zinc zone, we get into a copper gold zone, which we're going to be exploring in the near future. The other one is Capiri, and it's volcanogenic mesosulfide, and it's way to the south in a different district. We built a small pilot plant there, and we tested it the last time when silver went crazy. We confirmed the resource size, we confirmed the metallurgy, and we confirmed the mining method there, but the geology was far more complex than what the drills indicated. So we paused on that one because at $30 it made money, at $15 it didn't make money, and I'm not one to produce silver at a loss for the sake of producing silver. So we've now been at it for a couple of years, in the last couple of years, and we've done three things there, which makes it quite interesting. One, we got a hold of some old airborne data about, they must have spent about $1.5 million, $2 million on it. We've had it interpreted in 3D, and we've identified 18 targets in the immediate vicinity of Capiri's deposit right now. So the idea is potentially we'll be testing those to see if we can expand the overall resource. Two, what we've been doing as well is looking at how we can improve the margins. And we're working on an ore sorting technique. Because this is a complex ore body, you can either sort it with by blasting and taking out sections, or you can run it through an ore sorter, which very quickly sorts the gangue, the waste, from the ore. And tests, our preliminary tests have been very positive, but historically people expect to see about a 30% improvement in the ore that you ultimately get to the mill. So that to us is very important because it allows us to have a bigger throughput. Remember that mill we have down there is only 200 tons a day. At 200 tons a day, we've got over a 30-year life. And nobody wants 30 years. So this would probably allow us to put through 400 to 500 tons a day on the front end of that same mill at a higher grade. And that's what gets attractive to us. And we're working on that one right now. We've got a bulk sample being tested. And if that happens, we would probably put it in production at the current scale. If the drilling is successful in some of these other targets, we would probably do a retrofit and upsize the scale of production there. But our target right now is sort of between 300, 500,000 ounces silver, and I hate using this word, 300 to 500,000 ounces of silver equivalent that would be coming out of there per year. So that would again scale us up quite a bit.
Sorry to interrupt. What's the cutoff grade there?
Well, the cutoff grade right now is running at about 60 grams per ton. And that seems to be viable because you've got, say, another 60 grams a ton in this other material. And as you know, with a polymetallic, when you run it through the mill, you have to take some and to give some. And it's always a very complex thing. We've managed to sort that out on our previous tests, so we're very comfortable. We've actually been talking to agents who would market the feed, so we've got most of that underway. And I say it'd be really a function of ultimate size. We could probably take it into production right now, but if we're going to, I'd rather do it and make a bigger profit per ounce than what we'd make right at the moment.
Sure. Well, Fred, I think we visited at least the two most important things on this backstage interview. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to address and let our audience know?
Yeah, gold. We
Fair
have that valley between these two operations called Villa de Oro, and the Spanish named it, we didn't. There definitely is we found several veins. Most of them are fairly small at this point in time, containing gold. In fact, our best drill hole was on one called Carlos Pacheco, and it ran 18 grams over about 3 or 4 meters. So there are some, that's the other one we're going to be spending some serious time and money on this year. That and the one other big, I mentioned Guadalupe, which was first started in 1529. There's one other big deposit called Alacran. It was started mining in 1527, and we're going to be doing some serious exploration there because it has not only very high grades of silver, but gold as well.
Fred, it's always fun to visit with you. We're both getting up there in age, but I know you're still passionate about doing what you do, and so am I. So I'll bid you adieu, and let's press on and see what happens here. I'm still very bullish the metals going forward.
You and me both. Yeah, it's an exciting business to be in, and it's a passion.